Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, to the channel IT Simplified. In today's video on Veeam, I'm here to talk about how Veeam can help you in protecting your Office 365 application. So let's start, and we'll start with basic what Office 365 is and why we need to do the backup for that, right? So the first thing that comes to our mind is when we talk about Office 365 are the SaaS applications such as Exchange Online. We are talking about the email services in this, right? Then we have collaborative services such as SharePoint, Teams, and they're all feeding from OneDrive. And in the same category, in Exchange Online, you also have the calendars, the contacts. They're all part of Office 365. That's what they call Office 365 suite, right? But the confusion starts because these are SaaS application, and the way it is advertised by Microsoft is that you don't need to backup. But the answer to that is that's absolutely not correct. And the reason being that is when we're talking about these as application, you just consume it. You just don't need to manage anything. There is no servers. There is no updates. There are no patches that you need to do. These are totally, truly software as a service. Now, what does that mean is because the underlying infrastructure don't need to be controlled by you, it's Microsoft responsibility to make sure that it is highly available. So say for example, if you are a tenant of Office 365, in case something happens in Microsoft data center, you won't even notice. That is all replicated. It's replicated across multiple nodes and also most of the time across region. So in case the whole region goes down, as a consumer, you won't see a difference. You still have that service running, and that is why Office 365 is so popular because it's truly guarantee your uptime. It's truly a software as a service. But wait a minute, what happens to the data that we're talking about? So if you're talking about that Exchange Online, the emails that I have, the content in OneDrive, I have my calendars, I have contacts, I have SharePoint sites. Who controls that? Now, that is a confusion, and hopefully, by the end of this, you'll be able to understand why you need to use any solution and why Veeam can help you with that. Now, let's say, for example, if you are using Exchange Online out of all these services, right? Let's not talk about right now SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, or these things, right? Let's talk about Exchange Online. So you have that user, he has a mailbox, the emails are coming and going. And say, for example, he doesn't delete anything or nothing happens. The data after a certain time will be moved to an archiving folder, right? The data is archived. So that's one scenario. In some scenarios, maybe a user has deleted that file, right? What happens? That file goes into the recycle bin. And same way, like on your regular computer, if you delete anything, it goes to a recycle bin. Now, I'm not going to rely on a recycle bin in case I need to restore that email maybe. It might be good for one user or two user, but when we're talking about hundreds and thousands of users, that recycle bin can fill up pretty fast. So you need to have a solution first to make sure that data is protected. So in case uh, somebody accidentally delete, so the first thing I'm talking about are accidental deletion. So you need to protect yourself from that because as I said that when you accidentally delete anything that will go to the recycle bin, and after that depending upon what Office 365 service you're using, it will be purged maybe after 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days depending upon what level of service you have. Now that's one case scenario. Another thing that is because of malicious users, malicious attacks. It can be insider. It can be any employee which is working within the organization, or from external attacks, such as ransomware, or all those which are getting very common. So in case something like that, so maybe you have user, he's being fired for some reason, or he's leaving, say for example, and before going, he just remove all those emails or content in OneDrive that he has, and leaves. Now, what happens if you need those emails, right? You need to keep a record of that. So that data is gone. So you need to make sure that that data is also backed up. And obviously, from external attack, you need to protect. So you need to make sure that you have some protection against the ransomware and all those attacks, which I said are getting very common. So from malicious attacks, so you need to make sure that you have a backup copy to restore those SaaS applications, or the data in that SaaS application. Another thing which is very, very important, and one of the topmost reason, are the compliance and regulatory reason. So most of the organization, and actually all the organization now, the communication is happening through email and the content in that. We are all collaborating on OneDrive. If you're talking about Office 365 specifically, we are using emails for correspondence. So all these interaction is having. A lot of companies, because of compliance and regulatory reason, they want you to make sure that you have that data for a specific period of time. Uh, so it is very important that you need to have a solution, because all these SaaS application, as I said, Office 365 will keep the data for a certain amount of time only, but after that it will. So you need to make sure that you have solution in place to keep the data for that amount of time. So that's one reason, right? Another reason is, now, if the organization who's using Office 365, they need to protect themselves in case there is some sort of litigation or those kind of case scenario which happens. So, say for example, there is a case, right? Class action lawsuit has been filed against that, and you need to show in the court as a proof of communication those emails. But as I said, you don't have those backups in place. So what you're going to do? So that's a very tricky situation. So you want to make sure that you have that data protected in case the courts and all these legal services, they want you to provide those as a proof. So from litigation perspective, also from compliance and regulatory requirement, you need to make sure that you have those backup copies in place to protect your data. So these are some of the top reasons which I think you need to have a backup solution in place. Now, when it comes to Veeam, they have been protecting your on-prem and your cloud infrastructure for a very long time. You're all familiar with Veeam backup and replication. But Veeam backup for Office 365 is a separate product. It is designed to protect your SaaS application, all those things which I have highlighted over here, right? So your Exchange Online, your SharePoint sites, your Teams, your OneDrive, Calendar, Contacts, all those things. And that is what Veeam backup for Office 365 does. So some of the benefits that comes to my mind are all in the reason why you should be using. So in case you accidentally delete it, in case you have that data, you can restore complete mailbox, or you can go to granular level by restoring single file, folder, contact. So granular level restore Veeam backup for Office 365 provides. So that's a great functionality, because most of the time in real world scenario, you'll see that a user has accidentally deleted a file or an email or content in SharePoint or in OneDrive, and you want to make sure that you're able to restore. And the only way you can do is in case you have a backup, and as I said, that you can restore at the granular level. Another thing is that you have the security perspective also, so your data is encrypted. So in case there's a ransomware attack, your data is fully encrypted, so it will make sure that it won't fall under the bad guy's hands. So that's another thing, because security is in everybody's mind nowadays because of obvious reasons. So the data is encrypted while at rest. So that's another functionality too. Now another thing is it also offers e-discovery for you. So why e-discovery is important? I gave you an example from the litigation perspective. So if a company are asked to provide information from 3 years before, right? They're asked to provide that email or anything. Sometime if you have a backup, it becomes very difficult to go through that backup data and go to that single email maybe or single content. E-discoveries allows you to narrow down the approach. You can fine tune your search based on the sender, maybe the date, maybe the content. So that's another great functionality which Veeam Backup for Office 365 provides, that it allows you to do the search at a granular level through the e-discovery. So that's all part of Veeam Backup for Office 365. You're not paying anything separately. So all those options are there, which I'm talking about, right? Now, from the MSP perspective, because Veeam backup, like all the other product, even like backup and replication, is a multi-tenant. So say, for example, you want to provide this backup as a service. You can host Office 365 backup in a private cloud, in a public cloud. You just need to spin up the box. You can add multiple Office 365 subscriptions. So say, for example, you have this customer A, you have customer B. So I'm talking about, these are all Office 365 tenants. C and D. So A, B, C, D are Office 365 tenant. You can use Veeam Office 365 backup and control everything from one console, because it's a multi-tenant model. You can segregate the storage attached with each tenant, and you can segregate that. And there is also, I forgot to add one more thing, that you also have data lifecycle policies. You can extend the storage all based on requirements. So that is all possible with Office 365 backup from Veeam. But the important thing is, which I want to put over here, is that it's a multi-tenant model. You can provide this backup as a service, so you can host everything and manage everything through one console. So these are some of the benefits, and there are some more which I can go into, but some of the reason why you should be using, first of all, Office 365 to protect your SaaS applications, some of them which I have mentioned over here, and how Veeam Backup for Office 365 can help you from security perspective, from providing backup as a service, e-discovery, the data is fully encrypted, and you can restore the entire mailbox, entire site, or you can restore that to a granular level by using Veeam Explorer. I hope this video on Office 365 backup for Veeam is helpful. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.